In today's news, Minister Wheatley pushing to localize BVI workforce, while 32 students are awarded government scholarships.
We have a live interview with the owner of the BVI's newest app. All that and so much more when 284 News returns.
Hello?
Wait, you had a lunch again? You don't say you were sick? What happened to our wedding rehearsal?
No, babe. I'm actually watching the news right now. Take a listen.
Topping our newscast today, UFOs seen around Tortola Pier Park.
And District 3 residents outraged over no water supply. They simply cannot bathe. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
All right, babe, just get some rest, take 2 Advil, and I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay, honey. I see you later. I love you.
It's clear to see that Coconut Lounge is a place to be, the coolest cocktail lounge in the British Virgin Islands. A lounge like no other, with welcoming, professional service, and a breathtaking ambiance. Not forgetting a diverse selection of wines, beers, and signature cocktails. Cozy, comfortable, contemporary. Coconut Lounge at Tortola Pier Park. Visit us today.
Hello, BVI, and welcome to another great edition of 284 News. It is Wednesday, August 19, 2020, and we're so thrilled to welcome you. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes. Javon, yet another edition of 284 News. So much to get into, so let's jump right into it.
Absolutely. I know, Kyla, right now the topic of the day, or one of the conversations that seems to be very topical, is the workforce assessments as well as the overall labor needs of the BVI. That's definitely something we're chopping up later on in the newscast.
Right.
But we've been having conversations not only with the Minister for Labor, Honorable Vincent Wheatley, but across the spectrum. Many persons have been speaking out as it relates to the importance of assessing the labor needs of the BVI and really matching that against the future, what the future of the BVI looks like. So definitely that's a conversation we're getting into today. Now, despite the pandemic, Apple, and it's funny that I'm even having this conversation because just about 2 years ago, prior to my team peer pressuring me into getting into Apple products, I was not even aware of the magic of Apple. But I have to say now that I am a big fan, but the company itself is really flying high despite the setbacks from this pandemic. Based on the news we're seeing today, they are the first U.S. company to acquire a $2 trillion status, and that is simply incredible considering all that has been happening, especially economically with this pandemic across the world. And Kyla, we're also getting into some mental health statistics, not just locally, but across the world as we examine another aspect of how this pandemic is affecting us. So lots to get into today.
Most definitely. So let's do.
All right, viewers, we're going to begin with the fact that the Minister of Labor, like we mentioned, is trying his absolute best to localize the BVI workforce and really focusing on immigration reform in the British Virgin Islands. Now, just yesterday, via a live interview with 284 Media, the Minister of Labor, Honorable Vincent Wheatley, expressed that of the 10,694 persons in our workforce, 6,186 are work permit holders, 3,161 are belongers or BVI landers. Persons on work permit exemptions totals just about 926, and just about 421 are under an unspecified status. Now, when we examine those numbers, Kyla, we can all agree that there is a disproportionate amount as it relates to the ratio between nationals and non-nationals here in the BVI. And one may really wonder, how did the territory get here? Well, the Labour Minister was able to engage Mr. Claude Skelton Klein on his talk show just yesterday and spoke a little bit to this disparity. Listening.
Well, I think that's a good point of conversation, because your number, Minister, you have 8 of your workforce, 10,694 people, 6,186 are work permit holders.
There you go.
That's a country that is heavily reliant on expat work.
No, not necessarily reliant, but it has a lot of expat workers. Are you telling me?
What happens if they go?
Are you going to assume that The persons who are here can do some of these jobs. Persons who are here can do these jobs.
But that's a different conversation. I'm not. But it should be a part of what we're saying. But I preface our conversation to do exactly what you're doing, which is to engage and people to hear out loud what are some of the tensions and some of the angles in which we need to view this thing. We have made a choice as Virgin Islanders to build our country. The country was being built. And that afforded persons to come, because I also don't like to hear sometimes when people say that we help you, that we rebuild the country for you, because that's a false argument. Yeah. But I'll deal with that at another point.
Right.
But I'm saying to you, 6,186 is about 63% of 10,694.
But it is not because you don't have the local workforce to do those jobs here. That's the point I was trying to make. You cannot tell me that all those persons and work permits are doing jobs that no BVI Islander is qualified to do. You cannot tell me that.
I agree with you on that point.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you were disagreeing.
No, I'm not disagreeing at all.
Okay,
I'm just saying that this is what we have done as Virgin Islanders.
We have allowed that to happen.
We have built it
over time.
Now, Kyla, very importantly, what was highlighted and agreed upon by both the Minister of Labor as well as Mr. Claude Skelton Klein is the fact that because the BVI at that time was on a path to autonomy and building, it was deemed necessary for them to import labor. And it was for a number of reasons, some of which was highlighted by Mr. Skelton Klein himself. One of the things he said was this has been because there is cheaper labor, especially within the tourism sector. And you know, this is one of the things we've been really speaking on recently, the fact that it's much cheaper to pay a non-national as opposed to nationals. And we've also heard the other side of the conversation where we hear that locals are not necessarily willing to pay their local counterparts what they deem necessary, but would prefer to just pay a non-national less. There's also the fact he highlighted the fact that non-nationals contribute significantly to the economy due to, again, the ratio in the numbers being 70% non-nationals to 30% nationals within the workforce, Kyla. But also on the other side of the spectrum, Mr. Skelton Klein also spoke to the fact that BVI Islanders are not reaping the true benefits. Where we just mentioned that, especially in the financial services sector, we look at law firms, we look at trust companies, and these are definitely sectors that they are very qualified for. And so to correct that last point, Minister Wheatley said that businesses must shift their priorities to locals, further threatening to limit the time on work permits if businesses are not to comply. He said, and I quote, "I'll talk with anybody who wants to listen to me on our intentions to have more locals in the work than outsiders. Let's move in that direction. If it's going too slow, you're going to force us to get draconian and say, you know what? If you don't want to move, we are going to force you to move by limiting work permits." To me, that is an extreme way of doing it. I don't want to start there. It is a place, but it is not a place to start, sorry, because we know we must have outside talent. Every country in the world must have outside talent, end of quote. Now, many persons have questioned the minister's draconian suggestions, adding that it will have far-reaching implications. But Honorable Vincent Wheatley is convinced that his measures will work. Honorable Vincent also mentioned the fact that he's working in collaboration with the Minister of Education, Kyle, and I know you're going to get into this, but really to ensure that the BVI nationals are diversely educated. Just recently, he mentioned the scholarships as well. So while this is not the most comfortable conversation to have, Kyla, it is certainly timely and I believe very necessary. I think we continue to speak to the issue, but not necessarily to the solutions. You know, we are already at a place where there is a disparity, 70%, 30%. But we want to ensure, again, like the minister said, that more opportunities are afforded to locals. And while that sounds good, it will socially and economically, especially based on recent decisions, change the makeup of the territory. So to avoid these type of damages to the economy, like I mentioned initially, the BVI must be able to do an in-depth workforce assessment of the labor needs. What are the needs? What are the industries we'd like to get into? You know, we speak to the diversification of the economies, especially now in this very troubling time. What other industries are viable? What are we looking to invest in? So understanding those needs, and again, mirroring that against what the future looks like for the BVI. Additionally, we have to acknowledge the culture of local business owners consistently, intentionally hiring outside talent. And we have to question why that is happening, and really have to acknowledge our roles in that. But more importantly, Kyla, how do we begin to change that culture? And again, the education, like the minister said, is a very important factor. There's a lot of industries that are critical to the success of the BVI's economy, but somehow locals do not occupy those industries.
Right.
And we have to question, do we want to be educated in those industries? Do we want to fill these positions? Again, boiling back to what do we want the BVI's culture and future to look like, Kyla?
Most definitely. But Javon, before we get into the meat of the matter, you spoke a little bit about the scholarship program, and I'm going to dive into that story now. As you mentioned in a live interview right here on 284 Media, Honorable Vincent Wheatley revealed that the Minister of Education, Honorable Natalia Wheatley, have recommenced the scholarship program. Honorable Wheatley indicated that Cabinet will be approving approximately 30 scholarships. So let's take a look at what Honorable Vincent Wheatley had to say about this for this area.
Yeah, so you must know, every day I get several calls, Minister, I need a job. Minister, I need a job. All of us get these calls every single day. As you leave your doorstep, your phone is going. But I must commend the Minister of Education for starting back the scholarship program. And in the Cabinet on Wednesday, we were able to approve 30 scholarships for further study.
Okay.
So there will be opportunities for these students, if they can't find work, to further their education.
Yes, Javon. And Honorable Vincent Wheatley was basically answering the question when I asked, now that we have graduates coming out of school, what would you tell them? And then he mentioned the 30 scholarships. And really and truly, since the devastation of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, the government had to halt the scholarship program here in the territory. And now 3 years later, we see where 32 students are being rewarded scholarships to further their education. It was actually reported that nearly 100 applications were received by the government, and Minister Natalia Wheatley expressed his excitement towards the recommencement of this program to a local publication. He said, and I quote, "We are very happy that we are able to restart the scholarship program. After Hurricane Irma, it was stopped, and it created a big backlog of students who either couldn't pursue their studies or had to struggle to pursue their studies," end quote. He added and said, "We know that investing in young persons is something that we have to do, especially as we want to see more local persons qualified and trained to be in the workforce. So scholarships are essential so that along with our investment in H. Lavity South Community College and other programs that we have," end quote. Now, Honorable Natalia Wheatley said he hopes choosing the award scholarships in certain areas will fill the void that exists for some professional roles in the territory. And you were speaking a lot about this, Javon, and he said, and I quote, "We are able to reward the scholarships in a diverse number of areas. These areas correspond with priority areas in our economy, including agriculture, construction, technology, nursing, sports, therapy, and a host of other areas where we want to move in the future," the minister stated. Now, Javon, before the Hurricanes Irma and Maria, many students were able to benefit from the government's scholarship program. And the BVI government for many years have made it a top priority to invest in our human resource of the country. But to go back to what you were saying, really and truly a workforce assessment and a plan, I think that is where we may be lacking in our territory, because you asked some key questions. Why are BVI lenders not taking up these jobs? Why do we want to be trained in these jobs? And I think it's an array of questions.
Absolutely. And Kyla, by doing a territory-wide assessment, not only will we be able to identify what the labor needs are and, of course, give qualified locals first preference to get these opportunities, but we also create a very realistic timeline and framework as it relates to persons who are coming into the territory to work within certain industries. And I think that's the clarity that will not only meet the needs of the territory, but also help us, all of us, I think, to appreciate each other and the collective roles that we play to support the growth of this territory. And education, like you mentioned, is also a very critical role in that. It's not just about scholarships after you leave school, but it's also sensitizing our young children within the school system to these industries and having them understand how these industries, specifically how tourism lends greatly to the economy of the British Virgin Islands.
I do agree, and I think we can not only look at now, Javon, but we have to look years ahead, because I can say, and as a living example, 10 years ago, we were not looking at the media industry, and here we are now, engrossed into this industry. So how many students have been sent away and have really been molded for the media industry? As you said, the tourism industry. There's many industries in the BVI that I think that we have overlooked.
Yes.
And now that we are here in the 21st century, we are saying, hey, where are the BVI lenders to fill these spots? So I think it takes proper planning to do so. As you said before, in the financial services industry, we still see where BVI lenders are not getting the top jobs. But
or
I think
paid proportionately, because that is another concern. When we see the importation of certain expats, and they are being paid in some occasions more than what is being offered to a BVI land, and that's a conversation too that we've been following on the various community boards. So definitely, this is not a one-dimensional issue and cannot receive like a blanket approach. Deep assessment is needed, and so we will be following this for sure.
But one thing I would also like to say before we move on from this conversation, as the Minister, Honorable Natalia Wheatley said, within that time frame of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, that this has been 3 years since the government has been able to grant scholarships to persons, and persons were struggling to either go ahead and do it or they did not do it at all. So these 3 years, how do we fill that gap? I would love to see the numbers as it pertains to how much students have in the last 5 to 10 years gone away and studied different industries. I think definitely as a territory, we have to follow these numbers, use these numbers, and plan accordingly.
Absolutely. I love it. Kyla, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Right when we come back, we're speaking to the developer of the BVI's newest app. Trust me, this is juicy and exciting. Stick with us.
I think you need to clearly see what happened.
As far as what?
You and I, we decided we were going to take our space. What happened?
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement in August. That's what I said.
An entanglement.
Yes. Yes.
An entanglement.
Yes.
A little entanglement never hurt nobody. For the month of August, enjoy double the fun when you activate a 2 GB data plan or any hero plan and get double data. But wait, man, we're making things even sweeter. We've got a deal even Jada can't resist. Sign up for Go Fast LTE and get your modem for only $149. The catch is, there's no contract required, but you'll definitely need the willpower to leave. So come get entangled with August. In August with the home team.
34 years and counting.
We ride together.
We die together. CCT for life.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, in the BVI, we all know the importance of cultural representation, and our guest today is making sure that he do his part to ensure that culture is preserved. Mr. Vincent Wheatley, compassionately known as Vince, welcome to 284 Media.
Thank you very much. It's Vincent David. We had 2 Vincents on the show today.
Oh my goodness. I'm so accustomed to saying Vincent Wheatley. My apologies. My
It's
apologies
okay.
about that. But Vince, I know you have managed to channel your creativity and really take advantage of technology as it relates to this app. Just tell us all about it and the inspiration behind it.
So the app is called Island Moji. Island ILAND. Moji MOJI. Um, it was inspired by just missing home. I moved from home, quite some time ago, and I realized through conversations with my family, friends, on social media, and on regular text messages that we couldn't say or have certain things right at the palm of our hands, um, given through Apple or Google. So this is what I came up with, through culture, food, general topics, carnival, and different sayings are the five categories that we have at the moment to represent us. We will be adding new content every day, well, every few months or so, and once that category is bought, that category will be updated, and you won't have to buy it again. We plan on moving forward with working with different businesses and whatnot as well.
All right. Well, I must say it's very user friendly. When you tap into it, it reflects, it's vibrant, so it definitely reflects Caribbean culture, which is something that I love, and I think very inviting. You did speak to future collaborations. I want to get into that a little bit because persons are always interested in how can I be a part of something this amazing.
Yeah, so we're just a week old, and our plan is to work with BV Islanders, Virgin Islanders, entrepreneurs, and even government entities such as the Board of Tourism to be ambassadors. We want to be able to create a platform of a new form of marketing for different businesses and government entities as well. As I told you yesterday when we spoke briefly, I want businesses to use my app to promote their own business, different events that may be coming up, and prepare tourists that might be coming in during the time that an event or just a regular everyday business product may be a bit available for them.
All right. I know you mentioned it's just about just a week old, but how has the response been? Because personally, I came across the app, the interface of it on Facebook because everybody seemingly is so excited about it. They were sharing it, and I saw it at least 5 times on my timeline.
That's great to hear. Honestly, the reception has been overwhelming with love and support. We This is our first time actually coming out publicly as the owners. We were, just telling friends and family, people that cared about us, people that have supported us through all our other ventures, as regular people in society. So it's great to hear that this came across to you and all the way to Tortola via word of mouth.
Absolutely. I love it. I love to see it. Now, before we go, when we think about culture, many persons are of the opinion that culture, especially within the Caribbean region, is evading us. We have to find creative ways to preserve it. So, speak to that for me and why it's so important for other persons to embark on initiatives such as this to ensure that our culture is preserved.
Ever since Irma and Maria, a lot of people were displaced from their regular ways of living. Some people moved away, and it's I think it's very important to have things like this so you can stay in tune with who you are and what you are. That's why we took out the S in island. I want everyone to always, when they use that app, I want someone to always feel a piece of themselves, whether it's through a food, whether it's through a carnival emoji, a saying, just embrace who we are. As you can see, we have black emojis. Google and Apple make us modify that kind of thing, but
Right.
here we naturally have that. And I want everyone to just be able to feel like it's a piece of them every time they use that app.
So I love it. I love it. Vince, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I want to congratulate you
Thank
really
you
on
for
this
having me.
effort. I think this cultural representation is key, especially like you mentioned on Apple and Google. When it comes to Caribbean and what is authentic to us, there's little to no representation there. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. There will be more content being added for the Caribbean, but just know that it started with us, the BVI and the USVI.
And let it remain there. Of course, it'll branch out, but let that be the core
It
of it.
will.
All
It
right,
will. It
Mr.
definitely
David,
will.
thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jovan.
All right, Kyla, here we see again another Virgin Islander really stepping out and showing out and doing what he needs to do to ensure that the culture is preserved in the BVI. And we love celebrating this because when we think about culture, you know, culture is you, culture is me, culture is all of us. And we want to ensure that, you know, our children knows about it.
Most definitely. Jovan, I love when creatives and young people use their talents to just promote the BVI in general. When we speak about culture, culture can be so vibrant, but we have to find innovative ways to put it out there. And I definitely love this initiative, Island Moji, such a creative thing to do. And it's so relatable. All of those emojis that I
Pineapple
saw,
tarts.
those are things that we say, we do, we love all the time. So I definitely love that. But viewers, we have much more for you. The youths from the 7th and the 8th district can now sign up for free baseball and basketball camps. Hear all about it when 284 News returns.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Hands and Minds tutoring services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, a 2-week free basketball and baseball youth summer camp sanctioned by the BVI Basketball Association and sponsored by the BVI Olympic Committee was launched in Greenland Eastern on Monday, August 17th. Now, the summer camp is offering coaching in both basketball and baseball to all boys and girls between the age of 8 and 12 years old, residing in districts 7 and 8. Now, the initiative, which is now in its 3rd year of community engagement, is being managed by Mr. Milton McLean and Mr. Raymond Chichi Fonseca of Seacoast Bay Basketball Club. Mr. McLean founded the group in the aftermath of Hurricanes Irma and Maria, bringing in Mr. Fonseca to help with the basketball program. Now, Mr. McLean said, and I quote, "After the hurricanes of 2017, there was little to no activity in sports on Tortola. This prompted me to create the group as an affiliate to the Seacoast Bay Basketball Club. The first baseball and basketball clinic took place in District 4. That was back in July of 2018, and we teamed up with YEP to host the program in District 3 in 2019. This year, we have partnered with the BVI Olympic Committee to introduce the clinic in Easton, Long Look, where I actually grew up. We can't thank the BVIOC enough for the support we have and could not have been offered outside of this camp." So, Kyla, here we see a really great initiative for our young children. I know one of the things that we're concerned about in this time, especially now that school is out, is the fact that our kids have not much to do, and we are still engaged as adults. You know, we still have to go to work.
Yeah.
And we want to ensure that they are creatively occupied So here we see the 7th and 8th district by way of these two groups coming together to say, hey, we want to ensure that our boys and girls as well are occupied in sports. And what I love about this is, they spoke to the fact that it really helps them to exercise. It improves their emotional well-being, and it really improves their self-esteem and their social attitude altogether. So really happy to see this initiative. Guys, you can follow them on social media for all the relative information.
Most definitely. Javon, as you said, love to see initiatives like this. We must keep our young people active and busy, and you never know what can come out of this at the end of the day. But Javon, great initiative, and much we didn't get to all the stories today, but of course this is 284 News.
Absolutely. You can check us out on 284media.com. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
Thank you for joining us.